Hey guys, it's Wahima, but just call me Wah. Melanated! Welcome to another episode of my recap of 90 Day Fiancé Happily Ever After. This is season 3, episode 6, Big Little Lies. Okay, so I'm gonna go on ahead and just not talk about Paul and Roos because I do not care. I actually fast forwarded through their entire segments, don't care. Let's start off with Molly and Luis. So where we pick up with Molly and Luis is Molly has left the house, her and Kingsley. They left the house, left Luis do his thug thizzle because Molly broke a nail, girl, trying to have conversation with Luis because he had his music on very, very loud and wouldn't respect the fact that there are other people living in the house and there's a lot of tension in the house and Molly is over it, and frankly, girl, so am I. So her and Kingsley leave. Molly puts on a beautiful mink, girl. A beautiful mink. And gets into her car and drives off. When she comes back to the house later on, Luis is not there. She has gone to meet with a divorce lawyer. The divorce lawyer is giving her some advice, but really he tells her she needs to go and speak with an immigration lawyer to see what all is on the table. He's saying, the divorce lawyer, that because they've only been married for 2 years, it's relatively easy because they haven't bought anything together. But unfortunately, the immigration part of it, she's gonna have to see an immigration lawyer. So that's basically where we leave off with that. And again, I feel for her. She broke a nail trying to fight with Luis, and he just was just such a child about it. And then when he left the room in a mess. He didn't even try to clean it up. She calls him to be like, look, we have to get a divorce. You can't just not talk to me. He says he doesn't want to talk to her about it. And it's just being a kid, being an absolute petulant baby about the whole situation. He needs to really figure out what's going to go on with his citizenship. And the lawyer was telling her that Luis might say that he doesn't have a job, and so Molly may be on the hook for alimony. The lawyer didn't say that, but that's what I was thinking, depending on his financial status. And, he could say that Molly lured him into the country and promised him all these things. And then when they got here, she didn't hold up her end of the bargain and all kinds of stuff. So I think the faster she does this, the less opportunity he has to consult people and make choices and then make his move, She's saying that she wants to leave him amicably, but I think he might play dirty a little bit. I think he might, especially if he doesn't go back to DR. So one never knows. Okay, so the next couple that we're gonna move on to talk about is Nicole and Azan. So Nicole gets on a flight. She takes an 18-hour flight with baby May. They have 2 stops. It's treacherous, but she gets off the plane and she's wearing a cute, modest dress, and she meets Azan, who looks like he needs to get his relaxer redone. He looks like he has a relaxer and he didn't run a hot comb through it, so he needs to get that fixed. They hug. He kisses baby May in the mouth. A little weird. They stay at a hotel, and Nicole is leaning up against the door frame when Azan takes her to her separate room, and she's like, okay, bye, okay. You guys are not having sex. He's not having sex with you. He's not gonna get in trouble with the authorities. They go into their separate rooms. The next day they wake up, they find a place to eat. Morocco looks beautiful. I wish I were there. I wish that I could switch places with Nicole without actually having to be me. I just wanna eat and see all the beautiful things. She has a conversation with him about the audio, and he says that it was just a stupid thing he did when he was drunk. He says at confessionals that he honestly didn't think that Nicole would ever find the audio of it. And I'm just like, girl, they're doing a TV show. Anyone who has any dirt of Azan is going to come forward to let producers know. Azan just basically tells her he's sorry and that, it'll never happen and that he only loves her. And she talks about the same thing. The same little conversation they had over the phone is the exact same conversation they have in public. And it's just kind of all right. And she feels like she cheated on him, or not she cheated, but she did something she wasn't supposed to do. Remember when she went out dancing with some guy one day and didn't tell him? So she's like, okay, let bygones be bygones. This is even and we're good. So that's where it leaves off with them. It's a very short segment, but next week is going to be great because Rabah Lee comes to visit Morocco, and that's when everything is going to get exciting. Okay. So the next couple that we are going to move on to is Annie and David. So where we left off with Annie and David is that they had that weird trip to the Louisville Zoo where Annie didn't behave very well and made herself look like an oddball out, and she had the conversation with David where she says that she doesn't necessarily want to talk about anything pertaining to having children until David can get a job. And she's very frustrated and angry about her experience. It's been 6 months that she's been in the US and nothing has happened. Now, to defend David, I can't believe I'm doing this. To defend David, 6 months isn't that long. And I think that Annie should have prepared to be there for a year almost a year before things started to be on the up and up. 6 months is not long at all, especially coming back into the workforce at his age with no like skill that he's willing to, I mean, he's not willing to flip burgers, right? But I do think there's things in between. He doesn't have to go straight into fast food. There's other things that David can do, but I don't know what the economy is like in Louisville. I don't know what jobs he could get, but I definitely think he'd get a job in retail. Like, can he like work at the mall, like working in a store, like a men's store or something like that? I don't know. That's just what I'm thinking. Annie's frustrated because she's just like, nothing's happening. Everything that was promised is not happening. And she's really let down by it. She goes to the temple. There's one Thai temple in Louisville, thank God. And she has her friend Took. And Took has a great life in the US. You know, she has triplets and she's married and she's happy. But she's just trying to like help Annie through this. And I think that is great. I'm happy that Annie has a friend that she can go to the temple with and pray with and hang out with and all that jazz. So that's honestly where we leave off with that, like just Annie just basically telling us how she's feeling and what's going on in her head these days. But next episode, she's gonna have a conversation with Ashley, and Ashley's gonna be like, look, I heard you was a prostitute and that's where you met my dad. Next week for them is going to be super, super, super interesting. All right, so let's move on to our next couple. Chantel and Pedro. This was the best storyline of this episode. So in this part of it, you guys, first of all, Chantel goes to the private investigator with her entire family, sans Pedro. So it's her mother, Tomas, River, Winter, and Chantel, and they get out in front of this PI office and go into this building and talk to this PI, this private investigator who looks like a caricature of what a Southern private investigator woman would be. I mean, just big, coiffed, blonde hair, you know, in a short style, but still very bouffant beehive, and like red layers of color in her hair and her bang only. Like, it's just so like, she's not going on any stakeouts, you know what I'm saying? Like, she is not actually physically going out there because she is very conspicuous. Like, you will not miss this woman for miles away. I mean, just large pearl necklace with like large pearl dangling earring. Jewelry is chunky, the hair is chunky, and the parents start to say what they're concerned about. And the PI starts to dig. She then turns the table on Chantel and she's like, well, what do you really know about Pedro? He could have another wife. He could have a whole other family. Do you think he's cheating on you? What does he do? Like, what is your relationship like? Like, all of a sudden she's like digging into Chantel, and maybe Pedro is the sketch guy and she's gonna pull out all the skeletons from out of the closet. I'm just like, she really is playing on people's fears. Like, it's very much like, it doesn't feel like she's a thorough investigator. It feels like she's trying to bust open an entire person's life. It's almost like she wanted TLC to give her her own reality show. Like, it was like levels of like, this is what I can do for you. And Chantel is just like, whoa, 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 pump the brakes, pump the brakes. What I wanted you to do was look into his mom and his sister, not him. I think he's legit. I love him. I trust him. He's great. The private check is like, nah, he's not good. He's cheating on you. And he got a whole other family. And then her family, her mother and her father are like, yeah, we just want to see if he's trying to take the American dollar. Because I know how people are. When they get the American dollar, they act like it's like they got drafted to the NFL. What? You think that it's that hard to get American money? It's not that hard to get American money. Either she thinks it's easy to get drafted by the NFL, or she thinks that it's super hard to get American money. No, both of those statements are wrong. It's very easy to get American money, so you can harvest it or whatever. And it's very hard to get into the NFL. Like, she makes it seem, I don't know what in the Fox News, like, is she talking about? What is she talking about? It's like crazy. I don't understand Chantel's mother. I don't understand them at all. But anyways, River trying to chime in and be like, yeah, that is suspicious. And Chantel in the beginning is seemingly like, it is weird that Pedro sends so much money back to his family and nothing for us in our savings. But it's not weird though. And they just revealed that it's only $300 a month, sometimes more, but like 300 is about normal. You guys, $300 is not that much. I mean, I know it is, but it's not that much. I live in California where the cost of living is high. And so $300 is a bill, is a car payment, is car plus insurance, is a credit card bill. It's something that's normal. It's not like he's sending, I thought he was sending like $1,000 a month home. I thought he was sending a crazy amount back home, you know, and it's not crazy to me, especially if he has no other bills. Like, and all he's doing, like, if I were Chantel, I would be more mad about him spending money on his gaming stuff than sending money back to his family. I feel like sending money back to your family is legit. Buying video games, not legit, unless you're investing in your video game or you're a gamer and you're investing in that, and so you're making money from being a gamer. But like, it's weird to me that she's frustrated about that, the family bit, and not the gaming bit. I don't know, what do you guys think? So she ends up telling Pedro that she did go to the private investigator, and Pedro is just like, look, I don't understand why your family doesn't like me. He says in the confessional that he thinks the family might be racist. It's not racism, it's xenophobia is what they are, if anything. And it's also that they think they're better than him and his family. He doesn't look like he's up to something to me. And it's weird that they just are like, so xenophobic. It's like gross, you know, and classist a little. Then she does not want to investigate, and she says that loud and clear, I don't want to investigate, and then goes home and eventually tells Pedro that she did have that conversation with the PI and her parents, and he's upset and over it and just like, look, my sister's coming, don't talk about this in front of my sister. So she's just like, look, I'm really ready to make amends with your sister, and I don't want there to be bad blood in front of your sister, so I won't talk about it, and I'm gonna do my best to be nice to your sister. So we cut to in their next scene where they are driving to pick up the sister from the airport. It was Chantel's idea to get her some flowers and a balloon. So Pedro goes in and gets her. There's a huge hug. They haven't seen each other in a year. And then they get into the car, and Chantel says something to her like, hi sister-in-law, but in a like colloquial way. And the sister-in-law is like excited, and she's like, oh my God, you know, Chantel said this phrase. And I was like, oh good, she's learning, like, and she was excited about it. And then they get to the house, and Chantel and Pedro have purchased a couch to go into their living room so that she could sleep on the couch, and it could be like dual purposes. So the issue comes in when the sister gets there. She's like, no, I don't want to sleep on a sofa, which I think was stupid. Like, I'm trying to put myself in her position, and if I were to go visit my brother in a place that I thought was milk and honey, and they wanted me to sleep on the sofa, maybe I would be a little annoyed, but I wouldn't say it in front of my sister-in-law. I might say something to my brother, like, dude, I mean, a sofa? I'm on vacation, like, I want to be in a hotel, like whatever. And maybe him and I have that conversation. So I think Nicole was wrong for that. I do think there's nothing wrong with sleeping on a couch. I love a couch that's comfortable. It depends on how long she's staying there. She's staying there for 2 weeks, I think. Staying on a sofa for 2 weeks is going to be hard, like point blank. And so Pedro then messes up by saying, see baby, I told you we should have got a bed. So he blames Chantel for it, right? And then Chantel gets defensive, and then she says something she shouldn't say, which is like, you then can just go buy her a blow-up mattress, but we're not a hotel and we don't have a bed like that. And then he's like, baby, why are you getting an attitude? And she's like, because you said she would be fine sleeping on the sofa, and we have the sofa, and now all of a sudden you're like, well, send the sofa back and let's buy a bed. We don't have money for a bed. And then he's like, well, I'll just get it. And she's like, yeah, you just get your blow-up mattress, that's fine, but you better have your rent. So now she's like getting upset about it. And then the sister is like, doesn't make the situation any better by being like, okay, you guys, I'm sorry, I'll sleep on the bed, it's fine. She's like, ha ha ha, like fake laughing, like, I'm happy, ha 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 ha, like laughing at the fact that they're fighting and laughing at the fact that Chantel is frustrated. So I think every single party did something wrong in that. Like, I'm not saying Chantel is wrong for her reaction, but like, she shouldn't have reacted like that. But she's already sensitive to the fact that she thinks that Pedro takes the side of his sister more so than her. So it caused her to react that way. He wants to please his sister, who he wants to impress and who's his guest, and culturally it is their guest. Like, I'm trying to think of like, if we had a guest come in from Belize who was like being a little hoity-toity about sleeping on the couch, like, it would make me feel bad, but I would be like, well, this is all we got, so you sleeping on this couch. Because if the tables were turned and I went to your home and all you had was a couch for me, I wouldn't be like, you have me on a couch, You know what I'm saying? So maybe it's just the perception of the fact that one is in the US and so therefore you expect better accommodation and the other is in another place so you shouldn't expect better accommodations. I don't know, but I think all parties involved were wrong and the sister was just being like stirring up drama for no reason. Later on, she was like, it's okay, I'll sleep here, because then she goes outside. Pedro tries to have a conversation with her. She says she had a headache. Chantel is frustrated and she says that Pedro made her feel like a piece of crap because he wouldn't take her side in that. Pedro's frustrated because he didn't understand why Chantel couldn't just keep her cool and like have the conversation with him later. And then Chantel says, I don't give an F. And he freaks out because he's like, don't talk to me like that, which I agree in my family structure. Like that's them of fighting words. Like if you tell your partner that like you don't give an F, like that's like breach. Like you don't cast at or to your partner, period. Like you don't talk to them that way because they wouldn't say that to you. Chantel ends up leaving and just going off to study for 4 hours. And before she leaves, she apologizes to Pedro and lets him know that she didn't mean to be disrespectful and she's feeling really defeated. And I really feel for Chantel. I really feel for Pedro. I do not feel for his sister because I feel like she started it and she didn't have to. She could have waited to have the conversation with Pedro separately, and he now feels pressure to support her. And I know what Chantel is feeling because I have a similar situation with family members in my life where like I feel a tug of war with me and someone, and I feel like everyone else in between it feels it too, and I have to be the bigger person and just let it go. And I think that Chantel is gonna have to just be the bigger person and let it go and just know that when he's around his family, he's going to put them first, unfortunately, until like she can have a really in-depth conversation with him about how it makes her feel and that he can try to balance it out a little bit more. But usually the person that's in the middle doesn't, feels a little bit more of an allegiance to someone else. And maybe that'll change as Pedro and her are together longer, because they've only been together for 2 years? I don't know how long, but like maybe it's just so new in their marriage that he still is kind of like not on the teat, but is on the teat a little bit. He's like, I've known my family longer than I've known you, and I can't just throw them away. I can't just treat them, differently because I'm married. Maybe as their marriage progresses, it'll get better, but she's gonna have to continue to have those conversations with him about that. But I feel like she kind of does the same thing with her family, right? Like she kind of feeds into her family by telling them her business. Like I feel like Chantel needs to tell her best friend what the issues is with her and Pedro. She shouldn't tell her family that, because obviously her family is not reacting very well, and every single time he does something, she runs back and tells them. And like then when they do something crazy, she's like, no, he's my husband. But I'm like, you shouldn't have told them. You get that? Like, that's what I think goes on. And I don't think that Pedro does the same to his family. I don't think he calls his mother or his sister all the time and tells them all the things that are going on. Like the big stuff, the investigation, yeah, that's a huge thing, and he's by himself in this country. But like, you would think that Chantel would be more so about telling her BFF about that kind of stuff and not her family. All right, so what's the other thing that happens? I don't know. Can I talk about all the couples? Yeah. Okay, you guys, so that is it for this week's recap. Please go on ahead and let's have this conversation down below. Let me know what you guys thought of this episode. And yeah, that's it. You like this hair? I didn't even mention it. So what's on my lips right now is two colors mixed. I'm wearing Echo by Kat Von D's Everlasting Lipstick and Wolf. So I have Wolf in the center, which is like a gray, and Echo, which is like a blue. And that is it. So remember to be you, be true, and find your place. Bye.